So, part 2. Now that you know what to look for, let's talk about actually wearing the cymbals and playing the cymbals. So like I said, in the ones that I have for loaning in class, there is this safety pin on them. And so if you're using these regularly in class, you can go ahead and move that safety pin. You want to make sure that the elastic is nice and tight on your hands. And there's a couple different kinds of elastic. These are what came with these cymbals. This is what came with those cymbals. And this is just the only elastic I was able to get from the fabric store. And I had to double it up because the elastic on these ones was really weak. And it's actually really stretched out over the years. You want to make sure that it's really tight because this is my thumb elastic. I'm going to put it on my regular, on my finger so you can see what happens if you're playing and it's not tight enough. Then these are finger cymbals, these are instruments, they are not throwing stars. So make sure that the elastic on your cymbals is nice and tight. If it's starting to turn your finger a little bit blue, then it is tight enough. Okay. I like to wear mine right around my cuticle area. Some folks will wear it on their cuticle on their thumb, but then also they'll wear the top one kind of between these two knuckles. And that's also correct. It's just up to what you feel more comfortable with. We talked about using mufflers for practice in the last one. You do want to take some time to practice without the mufflers, just so you can get in the habit of making the sounds that you want to make, which we're going to go over in a second. And one thing that I do want you to note, I have been playing the single hole cymbals for a while, and those usually get held a little bit differently just because of the extra wobble factor. They usually get held a little bit differently than the double hold kind. So you're going to notice that I'm holding them a little bit differently on this video than you might have seen other people holding them. And that's, like I said, just because I've gotten kind of used to the single hold kind. So let me take the muffler off of here. And we're going to practice a few different sounds. So, right now I want you to turn the volume down on your device. Is it turned down? Did you turn it down? Okay, good. The first sound that we're going to do is okay, you can turn the sound back up now. So that's just shaking. It's good for like playing with a shimmy or, you know, as an applause break. That's kind of the bonus sound. Our main first sound, the one that we're going to use quite a bit, and this corresponds with the doom sound, that deep sustained sound on the drum. It is a ring on our cymbals. So that's playing it very lightly. A little more forceful. And you can make a ring by either hitting it at an angle and kind of snapping, or just by hitting it and pulling away right away. And I am going to put on these Turkish Delights so you can hear the difference in the ring between these two different styles. And that's partly because of the difference in shape, partly because of the difference in the metal that these are made out of. So the ring sound, even though it's a higher pitch sound, it's the long sustained sound, and that's why it kind of corresponds to that deep doom sound on the drum. So the next sound corresponds to the tak, and it's just a clap. So you can play that either by putting your fingers on the side of the cymbal, on the top one, and just clapping. Or you can play it just by and holding. And then the last sound is played by putting the cymbal into the web of your hand and making sort of a T shape here and just kind of I'm moving down the top cymbal down to meet the top one. And this one's called a tick. It's almost just kind of like tickling your cymbals. It's good when the music gets soft and you want to play along. But again, you don't ever have to play all the way straight through a song. It's usually better if you take some breaks and leave some verses or sections of the song without cymbal ornamentation. And we'll get to that in level 2. For now, you're just going to be drilling some basic patterns in class. And so I'm going to switch to all one style. You do definitely need 4 cymbals to play. I said before that you can't necessarily tell if something is a cheap junk based on whether it has 1 or 2 cymbals, or 2 holes for the elastic, I mean. But if it's only got 2 cymbals, then it's definitely junk. You need 4 cymbals to play. And the 2 main patterns that we're going to be using in level 1, and these 2 patterns will kind of make up the different patterns. Different parts of them are used together to make up all sorts of other patterns. Other than just, hitting on the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we're going to have running singles and a gallop. And I should say I like to play with the dominant hand method, so I'm right-handed, which means that I'm playing my right hand on the 1 and the and. So if you think back to what we talked about when we were going over shimmies, there's 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4, etc. Okay. With the dominant hand method, I'm playing the 1s and the 2s, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the numbers, on my dominant hand. So if you're left-handed, that'll be your left. If you're right-handed, it'll be your right. And I'm also playing the ands on my dominant hand, and I'm using my non-dominant hand for the E-a. And that's just because my non-dominant hand is going to be slower, so I'm going to use it for the parts of the patterns that are less filled in. So for our running singles, it's basically the same as when we shimmy. We're just hitting the cymbals, alternating back and forth for each of those parts of the beat. So 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Yep. For the gallop, that is going to be leaving out the E. So the gallop goes and a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Okay? The last hit is the one that is on the downbeat. So, if you're playing dominant hand, then you're going to be doing and a 1, and a 1, and a 1. If you're doing left hand dominant, I will try. It's going to be and a 1, 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 and a 1. That's all I'm going to do with that, because otherwise I'm going to make you very confused when I mess it up. So, if you're playing that a little more up to speed, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. So like I said, those are the 2 main patterns that we're going to be using in level 1, and we'll get into more of that in level 2. The last thing I want to show you is a nice quick way to take your cymbals off. So what you're going to do is tuck your thumb cymbal into the webbing, just like if you were about to play a tick. fold the top cymbal on top and just pull your fingers out of the elastic. And you're ready to go.